Today on the WhereTraveler podcast, our host Teresa Rodriguez talks with Mr. Scott Eddy. That's MrScottEddy. And spelled just like that, it's also his Instagram handle, where he has over 257,000 followers who keep up on Scott for his tips on traveling and taking in the sights and cultures all around the world. You can keep up on Scott in even more detail on his website, mrscotteddy.com, where you get the glorious pictures he takes and all of the spectacular destinations he visits and the roads and waterways he takes to get there, along with his blog, where he goes into detail on the people, the places, the stories, and the inspirations that come with the miles he logs. Scott himself has an interesting story. He is now, of course, an advocate of travel and of experiencing other cultures and the richness of meeting all the beautiful people out there. But he had been a stockbroker for 10 years before he came to the revelation that his yearning to see other places could be a calling to bring those places to the eyes and imaginations of all of us, and that there was a living to be made as the ambassador of travel and experience that he has become. He and Teresa go way back, and they sat down to talk about the tips and travel bargains that are out there for all of us. They also talk about the tours that are out there for people who want to unplug. And while that theme can be great, sometimes you want to stay a little bit connected to enrich your friends with your experience, and in some cases, for your own navigation and your safety. Now, if you like this kind of content and you find it valuable and you want to support the WhereTraveler podcast, please go to iTunes or iHeartRadio or Stitcher or whichever app you open to hear us and give us a 5-star rating. And if you're feeling expressive, write us a review that lets other listeners know how you feel. Also, share the show. Send links to your friends. It really helps us reach new travelers and new listeners, and we really appreciate it. Also, visit Scott at mrscotteddy.com. That's 2 T's, 2 D's, and a Y. And follow Mr. Scott Eddy on Instagram to see the evidence. Along with our host, as always, Teresa Rodriguez, here's our guest today, Mr. Scott Eddy.
You're listening to the WhereTraveler podcast, the audio companion for WhereTraveler magazine in print and online. For more information, go to wheretraveler.com. And now, Teresa Rodriguez, Editor-in-Chief for WhereTraveler San Francisco.
Hi, this is Teresa Rodriguez, your host at the WhereTraveler podcast, and I am here with one of my favorite people in the world, Scott Eddy. Scott Eddy would be considered a minimalist. He really doesn't live specifically anywhere except Fort Lauderdale, which is his home. And we were able to catch him between trips to Asia and Nicaragua and a cruise to Alaska. So Scott, I am so happy we were able to actually finally get you on the ground. How are you, my friend?
It takes a while, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'm doing very good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. One of the things is that I really want our listeners to understand what a gem you are and how much they can learn about travel through your, first Twitter, because that's how we met. You have, close to 700,000 followers on Twitter who are, you're posting daily about your adventures and really sharing some sage advice on how to travel. So one of the things I wanted to talk with you about, because this is something I want to know, is what are the trends that are taking place in the travel world right now? Can you tell us about some of your latest adventures and some of the things that you've been finding?
Well, some of my most recent trips, I just actually completed visiting all the states in the U.S.
Oh, awesome.
And Alaska was my 50th state. And I went to a very remote fishing lodge in King Salmon, Alaska, in the Bristol Bay. And it was incredible. I mean, we were out hunting for brown bears every day. And when I say hunting, I mean with my camera.
Wow.
So I'm not really a fisherman. So we went out and just hunted for brown bears during the salmon run. And it was just incredible. We were seeing 10 to 20 brown bears every single day, completely in the wild. And it was a mind-blowing experience.
So how far were these brown bears away from you?
I mean, one snuck up on me and he was 3 feet away from me, and it, scared me and got me excited at the same time. But most of the time they were 20, 30, 50 yards away. Not very far. If you watch some of the videos that I pushed out during that time, they were incredibly close.
So can you tell us about this trip you went on? So you think this is one of the things that is going to be trending for next year, which is, I guess, going out and seeing wildlife up close like this? How many people were on this trip?
Well,
about it?
Yeah, so it was just me. I went to a fishing lodge. It was called Bear Trail Lodge, and it's very small. I think they only have maybe 9 or 10 rooms. But the reason I bring this up is that it goes much further than just, I do a lot of luxuries. I do a lot of high-end experiences, things like that. But it goes much further than real luxury. People are just wanting to get out there and get their hands dirty and soak up the experience the best way they can possibly do it. And it really blew me away doing a trip like that, because when I wasn't at the lodge, I had no Wi-Fi, no internet. You're in the middle of nowhere. To get anywhere, you're taking either a boat or a seaplane. It's not like you're in a city. You're not in a town. You're just completely remote. Right. And I think it's getting very, very popular. The engagement that I saw on that trip on social media was different than I normally see. People were inquiring very heavy about doing something just like that, maybe there, maybe in a different part of the world. It was very encouraging for me to see that type of response from the normal people that would respond on, like me being in a hotel room in the Caribbean. They're responding in a very different way, in a much deeper way.
Interesting. So this whole idea of remote travel is really something that people are looking into. And I think you're right? Because, it's easy to go and spend a week in a beautiful hotel room, but the work that you did to get to this location, like you said, by boat and plane, it takes
a lot of work. It took me 4 flights. Yeah. It took me literally 24 hours. I could have gotten to Bangkok quicker than it took me to get to this fishing lodge. And I didn't even leave the U.S.
Wow. That is so fascinating. Yeah. So what was it about this that was interesting? Because I know you get invited all, everywhere. What was it about this particular experience that, was exciting to you?
I grew up going fishing on the weekends, going hunting. My father was a huge wannabe redneck. So we spent all the time that he wasn't working outdoors doing something, fishing and hunting. And he was born in Michigan. So we used to go up there and go snowmobiling and, things like that. So anytime that I can dive into nature and especially get up close with wildlife, it's automatic yes. Absolutely.
So do you think that one of the themes that is going to be coming up is this whole combination of nature and wildlife?
Yes, absolutely. It's definitely part of it. And if you take a look at what's going on in the cruise industry right now, I would probably say the biggest sector is these cruise lines launching expedition cruises to Galapagos and Antarctica and Africa and just different parts of the world. And it's really funny because as soon as I got back from the fishing lodge, I flew right back to Alaska and went on an expedition cruise through the North Passage. And again, this company, it's called Uncruise. This company specifically has no Wi-Fi on the boat because they want you to completely disconnect.
Wow. Whoa.
So at least at the fishing lodge, I had Wi-Fi in the main lodge, the main lobby. On the boat, I was completely disconnected for 7 days, which me, you know how hard that was.
Yeah.
But it was an incredible trip.
And how do you prepare to be disconnected for so long?
I've never done it before, so I didn't know how to prepare. Well,
now that you've done it, now that you've done it, do you have any words of wisdom for people who are like, yeah, especially, I mean, a lot of people are these type A's that are like, I'm going on a vacation, but I'm still have to be connected. So do you have some words of advice?
Yeah, I'm not doing it again. Let's just say I'm a type A, and the A is like highlighted, bolded, underlined. Like I'm not a fan. I don't need the detox. I like being connected. I like being able to post in real time, have real time conversations. I'm not a fan of delaying my engagement for a week, especially the way I travel. So it's a very inconvenient thing. It was a tremendous trip. It was unbelievable. It was an experience of a lifetime, and I'll never forget it. Having said that, I couldn't travel like right away after that. I had to wait a few days to push out all the content because, I had so many things to post and just to push out that I do everything in my life in real time. So I couldn't start the next trip without posting everything from the Alaska trip. So it was like a huge explosion going on in my head every day for like 3 or 4 days. So it was wonderful and stressful at the same time.
Yeah.
When it came to the end of the trip,
Yeah. So I guess the word of advice is to really take inventory of your personality before booking a trip like this, and also what your expectations are about doing a trip like this. Because I do think that, there are different types of travel experiences, right? And I think that, but because of who you are and what you do for a living, my God, this is what you do for a living, that being disconnected for 7 days is like having, the IT department in your work go down for 7 days. You can't get your job done. For somebody who needs to disconnect, right? This is a fantastic opportunity to really dive deep and disconnect, right?
There's absolutely nothing wrong with it, and it's probably healthy. Just because I'm not a fan of it, that doesn't mean it's not needed and it's not healthy. It's absolutely healthy. Humans by nature, they're creatures of habit. And, one thing that I suggest is to do what's right for you, not to do what's right as far as what's going on with the trends. You know what I mean? Don't do something because it's trendy. Do something if you see kind of like a trend that's going on right now, jump on that. Don't do something that you're uncomfortable with just because it's a trend.
Right.
The whole digital detox thing right now is so hot and everybody's talking about it, and it's just, and then it'll go away and then something else will take its place. And it's funny how social media works that way. Whatever's hot, that's what they concentrate on.
I'm Teresa Rodriguez, Editor-in-Chief of Where San Francisco, and you're listening to Where Travel Podcast, where we'd love to talk about anything related to travel. For more information about this episode, as well as WhereTraveler, be sure to check out WhereTraveler.com.
That's what they concentrate on.
Right. And I also think that they're also, and I completely agree with you with respects to human nature, but, with speaking with you, you're one of the trendsetters, right? So you're the one that's going out and finding what's going to be trending, right? It's like, the book, the tipping point. You are the tip, you're the one that starts the trend before it ever tips. So I think that's, why I'm so intrigued by your lifestyle and what you've created, is because you are on the forefront of this. You are the one that is going out and cutting down the barriers of ideas and experiences that none of us would have possibly thought about before you did it, correct? So what's crazy is that you do have this responsibility as a professional to say, hey, this is the stuff that I've done. This is what I've experienced, and keep your own, I guess, your own preferences. You got, what you have to do is kind of hard sometimes because you got to keep them at bay, especially if the experience was great. But like you said, I really need it. I really need internet access, right?
Right.
So what?
Yeah, I mean, it's for everybody, and it's not for everybody, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And I'm really glad that you gave me that insight, because I really have never thought about it, because I've never been on a trip for a week without internet access ever.
Yeah.
So that would have to be something that I would have to really seriously consider if I would take a trip like that. The truth is, as you know, I'm a single mom. And if I went on a trip without my daughter, I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could be without for a week. Right.
No, I get it.
I think that's a really, really great question to ask yourself, or even ask the tour operators that you're working with, is like, hey, is there internet access? And it's so funny, because we do live in a world that we just assume everybody and everything is connected, right?
Correct.
So tell us about one of the other trips that you've just taken, because I think you were just in Nicaragua, if I'm not mistaken. Can you tell me what was going down there?
Yeah, I did Nicaragua right after the Alaska cruise, and that was my 72nd country. I've never been there before.
Congratulations.
It was really really over the top, and I don't mean over the top by luxurious. I mean, yes, it was a high-end resort, but it was over the top as far as, again, experiences. So I stayed at this place called Rancho Santana, which was a 2,700 acre estate.
Wow.
They have everything. They're completely self-sustained. They have a farm on there where they produce everything, all the meats, all the eggs, all the vegetables. They have all their workers, which is, I think, like 1,000 workers. They employ most of the town that they're in, and most of them sleep on property. They actually built a school for the kids of the family that works there.
Incredible.
I mean, it's just, it blew my mind, the amount of detail that they put into even the back stuff, the stuff that the customers never get to see. It's just the extent that they go to make the employees happy so that they deliver the right kind of experience for the guests it was unbelievable.
What's the size of the resort with respects to rooms or suites or casitas? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I mean, I believe they had 160 rooms and maybe 30 or 40 villas, and they are building more and more all the time. And they have a real estate section where they sell plots, and you can build your own home, and you have a decision whether to put it into the rental pool of the hotel or not. It's a very, very cool concept. It's like all under one umbrella. When you go there, there's absolutely no reason for you to leave the resort, and you will not get bored.
Is it beachside or where?
Yeah, it's right on the beach. No, it's right on the beach. They have their own beach. It's actually one beach over from one of the most famous beaches in Nicaragua, where all the people from all over the world come to go surfing. It's just incredible. It's really, really cool.
Wow. And where do they do, activities there that you can get involved in, like cooking?
Oh yeah. Everything. They have surf classes. You can go surfing. They have a huge yoga studio. They're building a state-of-the-art spa. It actually opened right as we left. You can go horseback riding. They have their own stables there. You could go horseback riding during sunset on the beach. I mean, just it was just incredible. Like really, really, really incredible.
Now, was
it's
it
right
all
on
inclusive?
Playa Santana. It's right on Playa Santana Beach.
Okay. And that's in Nicaragua. How about, was it all inclusive, or how does that work?
It was not all inclusive. It's just like a normal hotel.
Okay, cool. Can you tell us about what's happening in the whole the all inclusive world? Is there any changes taking place that you see? Any innovations in that area?
Well, it's funny that you bring that up, because I've had 3 conversations today with agencies that represent all inclusives, and I am not a big fan of all-inclusives, but I have been getting more and more involved because all-inclusives in the past, if you think about one, you're thinking of, you're going down to Sandals somewhere in the Caribbean or in Mexico, and you're paying one price and everybody's fighting over whatever they want in the buffet, and you're getting watered down drinks at the swim bar. And, it's the image that they've had for many, many years, a very profitable infrastructure for a company, but it's something that never appealed to me. Now, the biggest boom in all-inclusives is the luxury sector and adults only.
Aha.
So these places are insane. I mean, completely stunning. The food quality is super high end, and you have a plethora of restaurants to choose from. Just really like private pools. Just really, really, they're outdoing themselves.
Can you recommend a few or tell us about a few that you visited?
I was just at Palace Resorts in Ocho Rios, Jamaica.
Uh-huh.
And it was a very special place. I mean, it was really, really beautiful. The restaurant quality it was on another level. I didn't eat at a restaurant that wasn't magnificent. That didn't blow me away. I never put food quality and all-inclusive resorts in the same sentence, because you could never do it in the past, but now you can.
Right.
Now you can.
That's fantastic. And so we've covered, we've covered the nature and wildlife. We've covered all-inclusives, and we've also covered destinations within a destination, like the hotel at Rancho Santana, which is everything is there, and you don't have to leave the resort at all. Can you share with our listeners, something else that you've experienced that is a little bit off the beaten track, or something that's pretty unique?
Well, what's getting very popular right now is purpose-driven travel. Traveling to give back, traveling to help a village, and things like that. It's just these companies and these tour operators and these people, they're doing tremendous work. I'm in discussions with several of them to do big things next year. It really restores your faith into humans again. Yeah. Because it's very easy to lose that faith sometimes, seeing what's going on in the world. But yeah, it's a very hot thing right now. I would definitely say that it's something everybody should do at least once in their life. I think it would enrich your soul forever.
Can you tell us about one that you've done that really impacted you?
So I haven't specifically done one of those, but I can tell you, in my 17 years living in Europe and Asia, I actively visited orphanages and visited villages and just all kinds of things. So I was basically putting together my own, but not doing it while traveling. I did it while living in Thailand. I did it while living in Sri Lanka. I did it while living in the Philippines, so it's sort of in your face in those countries. So it's very rewarding.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. That's something that I always like to get involved in when I travel, is that purpose-driven aspect. And I believe too, is that generosity comes in so many different forms, right? It's making sure that you tip or smile or say thank you and open the door for somebody. I mean, I think that as travelers, we have an incredible responsibility to represent the world, right? To represent who we are and our individuality and our, who we are as people in a positive light, not being those obnoxious travelers who keep complaining or, the impatience. Yeah. I know I find like going to airports and people at the desks of these poor flight, the flight crew, just like the plane's delayed. We can't change the weather. And these people yelling and screaming about, get this plane off the ground. And I'm just like, dude, like they can't do anything about the weather. I love making sure that little bit of respect, right? that we have to give to others when we travel.
Yeah, and airports are absolutely the number one place in the world. It's. I feel like every time I'm at an airport, which is frequent, I feel like I'm watching a reality show. The way people act and the way people treat each other and the lack of etiquette and manners, it's astounding. I mean, it just blows me away. They would never, ever, ever treat someone that they deal with on a daily basis that way. They would never act that way at home or in their hometown or in their home city with friends and family. They would never do that. So why would you do it to a complete stranger? It blows my mind every time I see it.
Yeah, this is a very interesting human nature. Both you and I have been in the travel industry for forever. And so I've wanted to understand this component of how people's personality changes when they end up at the airport. And it was this sense of entitlement that I uncovered. People save up all of their vacation time, right? And they've got a week off and they expect the second that they walk out of their house with their luggage that everything's going to go smoothly because they are entitled to that, because they've taken the time off work, because they've spent all this money to go on vacation. They've, blocked out time, it's time, money, right? Those are the two things that we're always short of in our lives. And they have this feeling of entitlement when they arrive at the airport that everything should happen the way I want it to happen because I only have a week for it to happen in, right? And so what I really try to do is bring that practice of peace to every place I go, knowing that I have been given another day today. So let's have some fun and let me respect everybody every step of my life and every day, right? Not just when I go to the grocery store, not when I just drive in my car, but when I go to the airport, when I'm dealing with other people, strangers, etc. That's interesting that you brought that up because it is something that as, humans, we're like, well, we're entitled to be treated right. We're entitled to have our train, our plane arrive on time. We're entitled to get to our destination because I don't want to lose those 5 hours that I should be, sipping Mai Tais on the beach, right? If that flight's 5 hours delayed, that's 5 hours I've just lost of my vacation time. So on that note, is there any advice that you can give people about travel and really finding that core sense of peace? Because you're traveling all the time, Scott. Like you of anybody, you're somebody who needs to find a space of peace in your life when you're always on the road.
But it all starts with you. It all starts with, if you look in the mirror, it starts with you. It starts how you wake up in the morning, how you go to bed at night. If you know that you're going to be traveling, like why leave stuff to the last minute? Why not get prepared? If you can't do it in the morning before your trip, then do it the night before. If you can't do it in one day, if your life is that hectic, start getting ready a week in advance. Just whatever it is, save 5 seconds there, save 1 minute there, save 30 seconds here. It's just like you're setting yourself up for a disaster. If you think that you are entitled to have a week's vacation, you get what you give. Right. So if you want people to treat you a certain way, you have to do it first. People aren't just going to come out of the blue and get out of your way, and it's like you're a biblical character and they're going to part the Red Sea. Life doesn't work that way.
I love it. Yeah, you're right.
You have to be kind.
I totally agree with you. One of the best secrets that I got was actually from Shirley Scott of the Big Apple Readers. Is she is also a flight attendant, and what she does on long haul trips, so say, flying from, anywhere really could be, but, not a short 2 hour trip per se, but she brings chocolates for the crew and writes her name on them and says, thanks for being a great crew, Shirley in seat, C-17.
Right.
I started to
That's
do
very
that.
Cool.
I started to do that because, I'm here in SFO, San Francisco Airport is my home base.
Sure.
We've got Ghirardelli chocolates, right? So I'll just go to Cost Plus and pick up some Ghirardelli chocolates and just hand them to the flight crew. And sure enough, they'll come up and say, hey, thanks so much. We really appreciate that. And I'm not expecting anything in return. And I think that's another really big
Right.
travel is don't expect anything in return. I just say, you know what? I know how hard you guys work. So enjoy the chocolates. And that's that.
Yeah, I mean, they have some of the hardest jobs out there. I mean, they're on the front line. They're on the front line of like the worst of the worst people in the worst of the worst situations in the most stressful situation you can be in your life.
Yes.
I don't take them for granted at all.
Yeah, I completely agree with you with all the work that they have to do. And their job is to make sure that we're safe on a plane, right? Like make sure we get down on the ground and make sure if something happens, if there's an emergency that happens on the plane, that they're there to take care of us first and foremost. And yeah, so a shout out to all of the flight attendants around the world. We love you and thank you for doing such a great job and keeping those planes in the air because it takes a village to keep those things going. And it's a big job. Scott, is there anything else?
See Teresa if you want some chocolate.
Yeah, I'll let you guys know when I'm on my next flight. So is there anything else you want to share with our listeners, Sir Scott Eddy?
We start filming the first episode of the new show.
What's this?
Probably sometime in the next week.
We don't know about this new show. Tell us about this.
So there's a new travel series coming out on Lifetime called Video Globetrotter, and I'm the TV host.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. I mean, basically, we're just going to bring to life what I'm doing already, you know, very much involved with people and cultures and a lot of local stuff. And it's just going to be great. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, I would expect you to come to San Francisco and let us take you around town.
San Francisco is definitely, that would be a great episode, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've got so many little secrets here that people, you know, there's the usual, right? You know, there's the usual everybody does, right? The trifecta. But, you know, I think that there are so many little hidden gems in this city that it would be a pretty fascinating time with you, since that's where we met. We met in San Francisco. Gosh, I can't even remember how many years ago, but
we did. Yeah. 2015.
Wow.
When I came back to the States, yeah.
Wow, that's so crazy. Scott, it is always an absolute delight to spend time with you. I miss seeing you in person, and I am so grateful for your time, and I'm sure that our listeners are too. Where can our listeners find you online?
So I'm Mr. Scott Eddy on all platforms, EDDY, and MrScottEddy.com is my site.
All righty.
Very easy to find.
Very easy to find, and follow him around the world. Be inspired by travel and his insights. And thank you so much, Scott, for your time. This is Teresa Rodriguez.
All right.
With WhereTraveler podcast. And you can find us online at WhereTraveler.com.
Thank you, listeners, for joining me. You've been listening to the WhereTraveler podcast, hosted by me, Teresa Rodriguez. This episode was produced and directed by Pete A. Turner, John Leon Guerrero, and Victoria Shepard. To listen to this podcast, find out more information about the crew, as well as WhereTraveler, visit WhereTraveler.com, your ultimate destination guide.